And welcome back to another episode of the Beyond the Goal podcast. You're joined by Steve and Dan after a couple of weeks break due to Dan's favorite team, Blood Money FC, Vladimir Putin's dream team, also known as Chelsea FC, going through a bit of a rough patch. So how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, what a welcome back that was. I've missed it. No, they're not going too bad. We haven't, just want to clarify, we haven't been keeping away because of the stuff going on with Chelsea. Just life gets in the way. But it's been a rough couple of weeks for the club that I love and adore, Chelsea FC. It's interesting times, very dynamic time, isn't it, Steve?
Yeah, definitely. So we've got a few interesting topics today. UCL games, PSG, and we'll do a review of the top 5 leagues. We'll get started with Chelsea and Abramovich. So as a Chelsea fan, what's going on, because they can't spend any money. They can't even drive down the road with their bus. They can't spend any money. What's going on?
Yeah. It's a rough time. So there's so much different information out there, and like as a fan of football and a fan of Chelsea, I follow mass follow all the different news and fan pages and all of that out there. And there's so much different rumors and stuff flying around. But as far as the factual things that I know, the club is in a bit of trouble as the owner Roman Abramovich has been sanctioned by the UK government, and as a result, as Chelsea is one of his assets, everything's sort of frozen at the moment. As I'm sure it's no secret to anyone out there that follows soccer, unless you've been hiding under a rock, or I don't know, you would know that at the moment Chelsea can't spend any money. Chelsea can't even make the sale at the club. I think it's all up in the air, but as far as I know, there was a ban put on even the club being sold, but now that's been opened up again and the club can be sold. The main sponsor, 3, the big nice 3 on the jerseys. I remember when that happened, when 3 become the main jersey sponsor. A lot of people joking, oh, that's where Chelsea's going to end up 3rd in the league.
I never liked that. It looks so weird on the jersey, but anyway, yeah, go on.
I wasn't a fan of it at first. I guess the money that it comes in, I don't think it's a style thing when they, pick these things, Steve. I think it's the money that gets injected. But,
maybe.
I wasn't a fan either, but I bought the Chelsea jersey when we won the UEFA Champions League. Currently still holding the trophy, by the way. And actually, I don't mind it, but I was tempted to rip mine off because, they've boycotted the team. But it was hard. Right before the Norwich game in the Premier League, that's sort of when the news I think was broken not too long before that they were pulling out of their sponsorship deal, and the players then had to run out onto the field still and play. And whilst some people might say, okay, well, it was Norwich and Norwich is struggling this year, you're playing at their home stadium, their home fans. It's one of those sort of old school, small little stadiums. It's still a hard game, and Chelsea come through so much spirit and a real clinical performance. And in all this, it's a hard time, and there's going to be that many pods out there and stuff talking about all the negatives. But I want to talk just quickly here at the start of it, segueing into this, all the beautiful things that's coming out of this. And as a supporter of Chelsea, I'm a real supporter, not one of these ones that's now going to back out on the club. And as you see with some people, a lot of people that go for Barcelona back in the day, I bet you now they don't. That sort of thing. You're not seeing that. And you got people like your Mason Mount showing, that he's going to be a future captain of this club. In that Norwich game, he just played a brilliant game. He looks like a prime player, and he got a great goal. And he runs straight over to the fans and is kissing the Chelsea crest as soon as it happened. That's the stuff you want to see. And so through all that, that's something I'm taking from this. And you've got Thomas Tuchel sticking by the team, saying that, if we can't get a plane to fly to our next game in the Champions League, if we can't get a boat, I'll get a 7-seater and I'll drive us there. All that stuff. There's so much positives coming out in this bad time, Steve.
Yeah, how are they actually going to get around that? Is it going to be donations from loyal fans? Is this Champions League game? Is this a home game coming up, or is it an away game?
No, it's an away game, where the Tommy T quote come in. I don't have the exact quote here, but basically he said, we have a plane, but if we don't have it, if we can't get there or whatever, if you can't get a bus or whatever, he'll get a 7-seater pack the players in and he'll drive it there himself. Like, you know, I don't know if, well, I guess it's Europe. It's not like Australia where you try to drive to another country and it might struggle unless you got an aqueduct, but
yeah, like they're all on huge contracts anyway. So I'm sure one of the players or the coach could chip in a little bit for the club. But we were saying yesterday that if this happened earlier on in the season and they struggled to get a new owner, you know, they would be in serious trouble. I mean, they're in trouble now, but you know, early on in the season they could be right down the bottom of the EPL table. So I'm sure they'll find a new owner. You said, I think Abramovich wants to make sure the club is in safe hands because he's built this club from the ground up. He's owned it for over 20 years now. Invested a lot into it, yeah. And I would say he was one of the better owners of a club, like a billionaire owner, because we're going to get into it now, though. Some of these American owners they're just, you know, they don't know how to run a football club in Europe. So that's something I wanted to talk about. So selling Chelsea, they're obviously worth quite a lot now. They're worth a couple of billion probably. And so, you know, Man City,
I'd put it down as 100 billion personally, but I'm not in the financial game.
No. But when Man City were bought, I think they're only like over 100 million, and then Newcastle were about 300 million. So they weren't worth, you know, much in terms of football clubs in Europe. So they were bought by owners and then built up. Newcastle's just going to be one of the biggest clubs in the world. They've got the richest owner. But there are a few clubs in England whose owners own NFL teams. So you've got Jed York with the San Francisco 49ers. He owns Leeds United. Shad Khan owns the Jacksonville Jaguars and owns Fulham FC. They're currently in the championship. You got Stan Kroenke, whose LA Rams just won the Super Bowl. And, you know, he was criticized a little bit for how aggressive they were in pursuing their, I don't know, trade targets and, you know, the way they spent their assets. And he also owns Arsenal, who are traditionally sort of like a tight ass team. Then you got Joel Glazer, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They own Manchester United, and since Alex Ferguson, you know, they haven't been what they were under him. And so what I found hilarious was my favorite NFL team are the New York Jets, unfortunately, and they're owned by Woody Johnson. And so there was an article that came out that stated Woody Johnson put in a bid for Chelsea Football Club, and I couldn't stop laughing because good luck if that's going to be the new owner, because this guy has no idea how to run anything. He doesn't know how to run the Jets. They've been trashed since 2011, 2012, just complete turmoil. So I don't know how they're going to go with, you know, a European football team. But I don't think an American owner will end up buying them. I think it's going to be this Saudi investor. Do you know much about that area?
I don't know too much about, you know, who's actually going to buy it. Yeah, I've seen there's interest from this sort of, like you said, there's a Saudi investor, and there's so many things speculated out there. And I don't just want to speculate, you know, because I just read all my sort of information on this coming from reading other, you know, fan pages and stuff like that. But you brought up so many points in what you were just saying there. But I just want to, on some of the things you said, I just want to touch on them. So you mentioned, you know, about spending money, and you're saying whoever the guys that owns Arsenal's a bit of a tight ass or whatever. But it's not just that. So there's the two sides. Yeah, Roman's been keen to spend money and inject money, and the club definitely has been one of the more dominant in terms of, you know, its financial spot, I guess, as a club, and the amount of sort of money that's been injected into it since Roman's been there. And the club wasn't that wealthy of a club before. There was a point, I can't remember, I used to read a bit on the history of the club. You know, there was a point where, you know, the club was sort of looking at bankruptcy and things like that. I can't remember exactly the years that was occurring. But it's not just about money. So like, yeah, look, we've had crazy money injected, but it was only recent. Like, everyone looks at Chelsea, this is this club that just throws money around, you know, $100 million on a player. and that, but that's only recent. So Romelu Lukaku is the biggest transfer that Chelsea's ever done, and that was 100 million plus or something like that. And there was Kai Havertz in the season before this that was in excess of 80, and there was some big spending in that sort of first transfer window that Frank Lampard was in charge and was able to spend money. But before that, there wasn't this crazy influx of money. We're not looking at sort of the same stuff as Real Madrid and Barca back in the day, and definitely not on a PSG level. Before, and there was consistent spend, we signed Fernando Torres for 50 million, and obviously with inflation and stuff, that's a bit more money these days than that. Those days, it would have been equivalent to a bit more. But it wasn't crazy. So that's not also the right answer, just having a manager that's going to come in and just spend money willy-nilly. We've seen that with PSG and it's not working. But with Chelsea, you're buying so much more. And what Roman achieved at Chelsea was he hasn't just built a team like a club. You're buying a club. You're not buying a team. You're not buying the first, whatever you want to call it, the top division men's team. You're buying the club. And Chelsea Football Club has, if we want to talk about the first division men's team, we've got a very good team. We've got a coach Tommy T's come in and he's starting to achieve something. We've got a good mentality. We've shown in this short time we're building something that's crazy defensive, all these sort of things. But then you've also got the women's team, which is arguably becoming one of the best teams in the world. That's also part of the club. We probably have the best, female coach in the world. I can't remember her name top of my head for the women's team. And if not, she's probably one of the greatest managers in the world up and coming. And the women's team is, they're crazy good. You've also got the academy, which I don't want to sound biased, but it's the best academy in the world. Like Cobham, no. It is. And you're going to say Barcelona here because, you've got Messi come out of it. You've got, some crazy high, Iniesta and Xavi and that. You've got some absolute superstars. But you want to look long-term at Chelsea's academy, what comes out of there. So many players that are fed through the world in football are coming from there. And if you want to look English soccer alone for one moment, Chelsea are the only team at the moment to have players in their first men's division squad. I'm pretty sure I heard this fact, so I don't want to be quoted on this, that had players that come through their academy. So all these clubs now, there's this big focus on just buying players in and all of this talent from elsewhere. And a lot of academies, you'll be in the academy, but you're not necessarily going to become a pro. If you make it through Chelsea's academy, now it's looking like you might even break into the Chelsea team, which wasn't always the case. We never used to see this big influx of players coming in there. But you're going to make it as a pro. And if you look at the academy back in the day, not Frank Lampard, John Terry was probably one of the biggest and most successful that come through the academy. But you look at Chelsea Football Club right now and what we're able to achieve as a club. You got Reece James, Andreas Christensen, Mason Mount, Callum Hudson-Odoi. There's a heap more than that. All these players, or Tammy, who's been sold now, but all these players that come through the academy, you're buying a lot more. And Chelsea also, it's a mentality. There's so much more than just the football, like Chelsea Football Club. Yeah, you're buying so much more than a club. It's established as well. So that's why it's so much more expensive, than some of these others we talked about, Steve.
Yeah, but I think the youth academy now may be one of the better ones in the world. I don't think it's the best. The foundations of La Masia and Ajax's academy are known to be the best, some of the best in history. But the foundations of what Roman had built is pretty great. In the year he bought Chelsea, 2002, 2003, that first transfer window, they spent over 100 million and brought in about 10 players, maybe more, maybe less, I can't remember. But, and that really sent shockwaves through the EPL because they were sort of like just pumping in and bringing in all these new players and really just started to change the whole culture of Chelsea. But I do think they've done a better job than what Manchester City has done with their owner. He really did care about this club and the team, and he's just a fan, I think. And it'd be our dream also to own a football club and just pump in money and just see them dominate in Europe. But something that Man City, so like you say, he cares about the club though. Sorry, Roman, and he's done so much great. But something that
I don't know if this is Man City's owners or how it's run, but something that they've done probably well that Chelsea hasn't, and something that I'm hoping, sort of gets carried over is Manchester City. Yeah, okay, you're looking at purely on European stage. They haven't won a Champions League. You're saying they're not done well, but they've dominated in the years, these recent years, Premier League and that. But what they do is they buy players. Well, I don't know if this is Pep. Maybe Pep's been given more freedom to do this. Pep's the manager of that team. And unless they, like Pep, they might have, let's say they have a really bad start to the next season, maybe the first half of next season. Pep's not going to be fired. Pep's there. Pep buys players and the club buys players that fit Pep's style of play and what Pep's trying to achieve at that club. Chelsea hasn't had that in this time during Roman. We filter and cycle through that many managers that, this manager buys some players in because he's got a vision, and maybe in his head, he's going to start offloading a couple players and he's going to bring these ones in. So he gets a few in, but stuff doesn't go his way at some point. Maybe he does for a bit, then it doesn't, he's gone. Then another one comes in and the same thing happens. So we're buying all these players and we're spending money, and we've been spending money on players, but they're all, they're coming in to fit someone's system and then they don't the next. And the next manager that comes in is trying to, make his plan work, but also sort of include these other players. And as a club, if you've just outlay some money, crazy money on players, you want them to, the club probably has an expectation, the manager, you start trying to get the best out of them. And that's something that probably has been a bad thing that I probably hoping is sort of changed in the future of Chelsea. But in saying that, Abramovich has had a methodology of, to get success through, if it's not working, we'll just chop and change and, bring in the new manager. And if you want to look at it, has worked. We're the most successful club in London in terms of trophies won, and we've won stuff. But I'm hoping that whoever comes in, and I think that was starting to change. I think we're starting to see Abramovich. This is the sad thing about it happening now. Abramovich with Tommy T, I think was starting to, he's putting his trust in him, and we're starting to buy players to match him. But I hope whoever comes in will work with Thomas Tuchel and say, this is your team for a bit. Give him confidence that this is where it's going to be for and build around that. And one sign that we showed, that probably is shown since all these sanctions have come in, that there could be positives to a different owner, is the fact that I don't think Thomas Tuchel wanted Lukaku. That was a Roman Abramovich thing from everything I've heard. And Lukaku come in, and I was a bit shocked when I knew we were buying a striker. To be honest, I was hoping it was Haaland. But in saying that, I also was a bit dubious the money you're going to spend on Haaland because he's young. I was actually hoping for maybe a Harry Kane. I thought he's got some experience and he'd fit in well. But we bought Lukaku, and that confused me. Spend all this money on Lukaku. He plays a very similar game to Tammy Abraham, who Thomas Tuchel didn't find a spot for in the team. And that was Roman that wanted him. And even through this bad form, and where Kai Havertz was showing he's the one that should be playing there, while Roman was still in charge, we'd still see Lukaku come in. Tommy Tuchel didn't have the ability to overrule that. But now we're seeing, Havertz is getting the game time and it's working. Lukaku's not, because Lukaku doesn't fit. So, yeah, we'll see what that happens if maybe a change happens in that way.
Yeah, I think that's a classic case of just an owner meddling where they shouldn't be. Owners think they know, but leave it to the football guys. You see this in the NFL all the time. Just an owner, they own the team, so they can do whatever they want. They can override whatever the manager thinks or wants. So like the NFL, you got the general manager, sporting director, and the head coach, and if they're not aligned, their visions are different, just things don't work out, and the club and the franchise bottoms out. But you see that in football as well. I think Manchester City, they've got stability with Guardiola. He hasn't won a Champions League since he was in Barcelona, though. He's a great tactician, but again, he's been given a long leash compared to all these exciting young Chelsea managers. And with Thomas Tuchel, I would love to see him stay, but you never know. With a new owner, they might want to put their own stamp on that club, and maybe they don't want a guy from the old regime to stick around because that wasn't their guy. They want their guy. So I don't know who's out there who would be better than Tuchel, because I think he's one of the better young managers in the world. So we'll see what they do and who it's going to be. Because
see anyone firing him though. Seriously, you'd have to have some serious plan to fire him in the form he's in. Don't you reckon, Stephen?
Oh yeah, well I think you'd be an idiot to fire him. It's just that they've got egos because they're billionaires, and they think they know better. So if I were you, I'd be scared if it was an American owner. But if it was someone from the Middle East, like UAE or Qatar or Saudi Arabia, you'd be in good hands because they're obviously wealthy, but they are fans of their of football. Whereas these American owners, they just want to own a European football club for money reasons, and that's pretty much it. Stan Kroenke with Arsenal, he does nothing for Arsenal, but with the LA Rams, they're the most aggressive team when it comes to, bringing in players, and they won a Super Bowl because of it.
The issue there is you want someone who's a fan of the club. So Roman was a fan of the club. There is no fans for Arsenal out there. So, it's never going to work,
Mate, they used to have Thierry Henry, all right?
I know. I actually don't mind Arsenal. I just
the
have
Invincibles.
To hate on them. I'm a Chelsea fan, But I think, the Chelsea stuff, there's so much to it. And, it's a bit hard for us to talk too much in depth about any of the facts. We can just cover sort of, the things about feeling and what we want as soccer fans, because that's all we are. We're not, we're not professional soccer reporters or football reporters.
I'm sure people are well aware of that, but
exactly. But I mean, that's it. So we can just cover that low level stuff. So I don't think there's not too much point us going through and speculating too much more on that. I think we'll move on. So we've got the second leg of the round of 16 of the Champions League. So half the games are done, 4 games have been played, and 4 to come, with the action kicking off tomorrow morning our time. So we're sort of looking, sort of around less than 12 hours away, actually. So yeah, pretty exciting stuff. Steve, let's go through, the action that's happened thus far. Bayern Munich, we talked about after the first leg of the round of 16, the fact that they had the tight game, a 1-1, draw with RB. And we said that, that was a good result for RB. That's what they would have needed coming out of that. That would feel like a win. But the fact that that wasn't going to intimidate Bayern, especially going back into Germany to play this game, Bayern's home ground.
Yeah.
And it really didn't intimidate them. Sorry, what was the scoreline again? I just can't read numbers that big. Sorry, what was it?
I know what you're doing here, you bastard. Yeah, well, Lewandowski coming in with a hat trick, but 2 of them were pens. We have to state that. But he is one of the best, probably the best striker in the world still. But yeah, the 7-1 win against Salzburg. Hey,
penalties still take a lot of nerve and conviction.
True.
Just ask Ponel, what is it, Panidio or whatever they call Ronaldo,
Or Penaldo, yeah. Well, this Bayern team are pretty stacked though. Thomas Muller's still balling out. I still remember him back in the day. He was he's been around for so long now.
He's a gun. I know you don't like him because you're a Barca fan.
No, I don't mind him. I don't mind him. He just annoyed me when I was a kid when he beat us. But anyway, so yeah, they won 7-1 in that game. And the other game, where are the other games? Let me just have a look.
So we've also had. You want to cover
just
it?
Liverpool, Inter. Liverpool going through, and Inter 1-0 in that game, but it doesn't mean much anymore because they're out and Liverpool go through.
That's it. Inter fought hard in that game too, and I think that shows even the 1-0 win. Liverpool don't go into games like that easy just because they're up 2-0. They don't take it lightly. Like they wouldn't want to go out there and get a result on that game. But Inter to walk away with the goal, that's a nice consolation for them. Inter put up a good fight. I didn't watch the whole game. I just watched highlights of that one. Steve, did you watch the full game? I don't think you did.
No. I didn't watch that game. But we'll talk about Serie A a little bit later, and the race for that. I still like Inter as a club, even though they've been just a frustrating club to follow over the past few years. Different managers and just poor decisions. But anyway, we'll go.
Definitely.
Man City and Sporting game 0-0.
I watched this whole game. This was I don't know. It was a weird game. It was weird. I watched this and I was like, you're there like, go, like you're cheering on Sporting because you're like, oh, this is insane. You're watching it, it's 0-0. Man City was pushing hard to get a goal. You're sort of like hanging out. You're like, come on, like, every time it looked like Sporting might break away, as if they got the goal that they would win and progress, forgetting the 5-0 aggregate score that Man City already had over them. Yeah. What were your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, well, I didn't watch that game. But I didn't really care about that game because there was another game that was very interesting, the Real Madrid PSG game, and that was bloody insane. But we'll get into that.
That was
after.
a good game. I also watched that. Yeah, I was going to say that's the highlight of the round, Stephen. You know, I know that's all we want to talk about, but we've got to cover the other games.
Oh, did you want to talk about the preview and the other ones, or?
Yeah, I think we just quickly preview them, and then obviously, yes, we will cover the game that you want to mainly talk about. You know,
well, the big game tomorrow. Then the big game tomorrow, Man United versus Atleti.
Yeah, this is exciting.
So, you know, 1-1 from in that first leg. I just posed the question to you before: is Ronaldo going to torment Atleti again? I hope not. I kind of want to see Atleti go through. But you know, we'll see what Ronaldo does, because he always shows up against Atletico Madrid. What are you going to be looking out for tomorrow?
They're getting a little bit scared. So he wasn't really in the game that much. Like saying that, like he didn't turn up, it looks like, in the game against them in the first leg. And I think, you know, there would have been a lot of fans out there that were you know, Atleti fans out there quite excited about that. However, they have to be careful, because the last time in the first leg that they got the better of a team with Ronaldo in it, and they got too excited, it didn't end too well for them. And then good signs for Atleti following that game. You know, well, Manchester United come up against Man City in the Manchester derby, and Ronaldo wasn't present for that game. I think he actually went home to Portugal, which was interesting. And there was all these speculations coming out, Ronaldo putting out that he's injured, but then his sister almost in a way confirming on social media that he wasn't, and that he'd sort of been dropped from the team, and as a result from not being in, or from the starting 11, as a result that he left. However, you know, that joy that Atleti fans might have been living from all of the rumours going around was sort of short-lived, because not too long ago, a couple of days ago, Manchester United, Tottenham, you know, Ronaldo looks like prime beast Ronaldo, showed why he's the true GOAT. 3 goals, you know, pulled up a hat-trick. I'm pretty sure it's his first hat-trick for Man United since 2004, which is crazy. You know, an 18-year gap. It's just crazy when you think of the numbers. Like, I was really young at that point. And the first goal was absolutely like prime Ronaldo, beast mode. There was a penalty in there, I believe. And then no penalty. Sorry, just absolute prime Ronaldo. So he's in top form coming into this game, and he always turns up against them. And also, he's the best Champions League player I think that's ever existed. There might be some disputing in that, but I think he's got the best stats out of anyone ever in Champions League history. So I don't know. I just don't really know if he's got the team around him. I don't think Manchester United's got all the goods at the moment. And Atleti's got some weapons in their bag. You know, you've got Luis Suarez didn't even feature in that first game, I don't think. There's Antonio Griezmann, and obviously João Felix, who will definitely, I think, be instrumental in that game tomorrow, Steve.
I think he will. João Felix is one of the best young players in the world. And yeah, Ronaldo is probably the best Champions League player. But that team around him is just, I don't know if they're good enough to beat Atleti. It was a tough game.
Maguire would be the only one on the same level, wouldn't you say?
Agreed. No. Good old Harry Maguire. But anyway, we'll. What do you think? Do you want to have a score prediction then? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a 0, like all first half, and then I think it's gonna blow out. I think we'll see 3-2 to Atleti. I think Ronaldo will put 2 on, but I think Atleti will get the job done. That's very like crazy scoreline prediction. I wouldn't bet money on 5 goals in the game, let alone the second half. But that's what I want to see tomorrow.
Yeah, I think Ronaldo will score, but I think Atletico will win. So I think it'll be like 2-1. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game. It's going to be a really tight game, though. But anyway, the next game is Benfica Ajax, 2-2 from the last leg. Do you know much about the game? You watched the Benfica game the other week, didn't you?
Yeah, I don't know much about either of these teams at the moment. I used to follow Ajax a little bit, but sort of lost the knowledge on them. But that first game, I mentioned this in one of the past pods, that first leg game was one of the best games of football I've ever watched in my life. It was so exciting. And sometimes it's really nice, when you're watching a game of football like that, that's sort of very two-sided when you're not supporting one of the teams. Like, I didn't actually really mind who got up in that game. But yeah, going into this game with, 2-2 on aggregate, there's no away goal advantage anymore. This is like a clean slate. So I hope we get the same excitement. I'd like to see a high-scoring game again. But yeah, I don't know too much about it. I'd like to see Benfica get up. They've done very well in the Europa League in the past. Chelsea's actually played them a fair bit throughout the sort of last couple of years, and in the time that I've been following soccer. So I've watched Benfica play a bit throughout the years. So I don't really have any insight on this team, but I've actually sort of come to like the team and the club. So I'd like to see them progress. I think that's a club I haven't really seen get too far in the Champions League for a few years. So I think it'd be nice for them. You got any views on that one, or a bit partial?
Not as much. I haven't been following Ajax since that great Champions League season they had with De Jong and De Ligt. But anyway, I don't know what the score will be. Maybe, I reckon 1-0 Ajax though. Did you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, they've probably got the experience coming into a Champions League game of this sort of pressure. Maybe if Benfica could have got up in the game, like in the first leg, and maybe had some form of advantage over them, maybe they could use that to their advantage to try to rattle Ajax. But in saying that, while Ajax have the experience in the the later stages of the Champions League, Benfica have been around a while and they've got experience in cup finals, European cup finals, like I said, in the Europa League and stuff. So it'll be a good game nonetheless. Just wanting to note on their Ajax, in that awesome run they had, they did lose to Spurs, and I know that's probably a very different team to what they're going to be fielding tomorrow, but they lost to Spurs, and they were up, I think 2-0 in that game or on aggregate or something, and Spurs come back like Lucas Moura. That was insane. That was like watching what Ronaldo did for Juventus against Atleti that time. It was insane. But yeah, to let a club in like that, to score 3 goals like that they'll probably be playing on their minds. If Benfica can even if they get behind a few goals, I think if they can show aggression and stuff, they might still be able to torment Ajax and get back into the game.
Yeah, for sure. So the other game is Juventus Villarreal. 1-1 in the last game. Villarreal are currently sitting in 7th in La Liga, and Juve are 4th in Serie A, and I think they can actually climb up and still win that league. But that game, I mean, Alvaro Morata has been playing well in the last couple of games. He's gotten some goals. So, I mean, I can see them going through. Villarreal, they've got a lot of experience in the Europa League, but not as much in the Champions League. So they've got Unai Emery. He won with Sevilla in the Europa League, and he's got a lot of experience there. So, I mean, this big game could be I don't know. Like I think I still feel like they could go through though. They've got European experience, so I mean, I could see like a 2-1 victory. But I'm not sure if Chiellini and Bonucci are playing, and they're always, a tough matchup for everyone. So, what did you think about that game?
Yeah, so I haven't really been following Juventus that closely this year, and I don't really follow Spanish teams probably as close as you, so I don't have too much insight or thoughts on it. But yeah, like Chiellini and what's the other guy in the middle there with him?
Bonucci,
yeah. Sorry, it slipped my mind and you just said it. But yeah, they're hard opponents, and like they're getting on in age, but what they showed for Italy in the Euros is their experience. They've got like that same thing Thiago Silva's got going on. When a lot of players get to those later years of your career, a lot of other people have retired and moving on or playing in lower form football. It's sort of a shame because your body lets you down. You've got all this experience, this wealth of experience from playing at the top. However, players like them, Bonucci and Chiellini, they've got all that experience from, a really long and successful career, but still somehow their bodies are performing for them, and they're even adapting their games that whilst their bodies aren't as fit and as able to do what they were doing when they were younger players and in their prime, they're adapting their game, so they're still, getting in the right positions early and reading the game better. But yeah, I'm not sure. I did watch a few extended highlights of some Serie A games of Juventus, and they weren't featuring as much, and they were coming on later and stuff. So I'm not sure where they sit in the team anymore. But there's some real strike force in Juventus. And like you said, Morata's really in form at the moment. And he's not even, I don't think he's even their main source of sort of goals as a club. And he's in form. So I think in general, the club's in a good attacking sense. So I think they'll get the job done. I don't really have a score prediction though.
Yep. And that last game is Chelsea versus Los Lille. You're a Chelsea fan. What do you think this scoreline will be, if they can even get to that game?
Yeah, so I think they'll be there. Tommy T's got the 7-seater out ready to go. He's fueling it up, pumping the tyres up.
Coming in clutch.
But I think, I don't really know. It's so hard. We'll win that game. Having the 2-0 coming into it's good. I think Chelsea will go out for blood. I think, they might even get, sort of 3 goals on it. There was talk of, and I was thinking Lukaku, because Lukaku now is well and truly not the first choice number 9 position for Chelsea at the moment. It's Kai Havertz. And there was talk earlier, I was talking to some mates a couple of days ago and even sort of last week saying that position, Lukaku will get a run there maybe in our Champions League game, like in the second leg, because we're already in a good position and maybe we don't need the strike power. But I think with what's going on at the club, they're going to want to make statements in all these games and get victories for the club. So I think we'll see Kai Havertz up front, and he's in such good scoring form. I think we'll put 3 goals on him.
Nice. But let's go to that game, the Real Madrid PSG game. It was a weird game because PSG were playing pretty decent in the first half. Kylian Mbappe again just comes up. He came up with a goal, but then things just turned in the second half. Benzema showing how great he is as a striker, and since Ronaldo left, he's just taken on the mantle. And this is the Benzema that we've been missing out on in that French squad. Yes, he's come back, but that whole scandal that happened, and he was suspended from the team. Imagine Benzema in that World Cup team in 2018. They won the World Cup, but imagine what he could do instead of, Giroud or someone. So he came in and scored.
That's a bit harsh. So Drew is, I know maybe not his biggest fan, but Drew has his qualities too. But you're definitely right. We're missing out with Benzema there.
He has some qualities. He's not the best striker though. But they just came back.
The Benzema absolute prime form there in that Champions League game.
I think the biggest thing was just PSG's defense, like passing across goal and just making mistakes you would make as a kid growing up. They were just giving the ball away in the back, and that can't be done. So Real Madrid go through and they just show their experience in this Champions League, because that midfield hasn't changed since they won the 3 Champions Leagues. Modric, Kroos, and Casemiro. So Casemiro didn't play, but that Modric is still one of the best in the world, and he's
an absolute beast.
But he's just unbelievable.
And I'm not trying to diss Messi or anything like that, because Messi undoubtedly, like, I'm a Ronaldo man, but like Messi is arguably one of the best that's ever lived. But maybe playing into the later years of your life's not for everyone. He's only 34, and he's struggling at PSG now. I know there's a lot of things to it. But he's got pace, and we've seen so many times in the past where he gets in space and can do all these wonderful things. But Modric just chased him down. Like Messi was in some space there and taking off. And I was excited because I wanted Real Madrid to go through. I like Real Madrid, and I have because of Ronaldo being there. And I'm not the biggest fan of PSG, but I hate seeing what's happening to Messi of late. And he got in a pocket of space now. I was like, I was excited to, see a bit of, Messi running. I thought maybe this freedom, he might pull something out. And Modric chased him down. And Modric's not the fastest, and he's a lot older than Messi. And he, chased him down and got the ball back, which was just great. But I think Real Madrid in this game, they just showed, the composure and experience. They were down 1-0 from the first leg. And I think it could have been a lot more. in that first leg. There was chances, but PSG didn't show any form of composure in that first half. They dominated. Real Madrid just looked woeful, and Real Madrid's not. I don't think Real Madrid has an amazing squad at the moment. They've got the players. A lot of them are aging, but there doesn't seem to be like the sort of meshing and cohesion that Real Madrid's had in the past, and they don't look like the deadly weapon that they once were. Even from last year, I think there's been a solid decline. But in saying that, PSG have all this ball. They didn't capitalise. Kylian Mbappe had a really good finish that ended up being offside late in the first half, but really good composure from him. And I think he played well. He took his chances and he got that really good goal. But granted, his first goal, I think Courtois, is that, I don't think you're going to step in there. Yeah, I think he's a bit at fault for that first goal. I can't remember who was defending Mbappe, but they did very well to mark and sort of push him out wide and sort of make it so really the only way he could shoot was the near post, and they left a very slim corridor that he could shoot at. It'd be very hard for him to have shot for the far post. But yeah, like the space wasn't shut down, and I don't know, it was just bad goalkeeping in my head.
Yeah.
They had so much of the ball and so many chances to finish, and Real Madrid just didn't look good. That's on them, and that shows the lack of composure from Neymar. So Kylian Mbappe is young, but he showed composure, and he's still got to learn, and this is good for him. This is actually good for him coming up in his career. He'll learn from this game. But Neymar hasn't had the experience of trying to close out a game in a Champions League, an important game, and that showed here today. I'm sorry, Messi looked woeful. And this is something I'm probably going to get hate on. Messi has been getting a starting spot on the team purely because it's Messi. No, he is at the moment. He's getting a spot on the team because of what he's done in the past. He's been that far out of form. I think Di Maria sitting on the bench is crazy. Di Maria looks good when he came on. And if I was Di Maria, I'd be angry and I'd be looking to leave the club. Because understandably, Messi's going to get, at the start of the season, the jump over you. But with the form he's in, you've got to purely look at form. Di Maria should have been starting that game, or Di Maria should have been subbed on in the 30th minute or something and given a chance. Di Maria's got experience. He's won important games. And I think he's in better form than Messi at the moment.
I mean, at the moment, yeah. But I just don't think, say, Neymar and Messi, I don't think their hearts are in it, in this team. Pochettino just tactically hasn't built this team properly. Like the players who are in there, great, but just they don't work together. And that's why Messi's form is suffering. He's getting on, but he just won a Copa America with Argentina for the first time since the 90s. They've lifted that trophy. And so I just think that moving forward, is he going to stay next season? I think he will. I think he'll have to. But I think his heart is still back in Barcelona. I don't think he'd never wanted to leave Barcelona. And he had to choose between Man City and PSG, chose PSG, linked up with Neymar. Neymar's heart is not in it. We know that from the documentary. But yeah, just from this game, Mbappe is one of the best young talents in the world. He scored in the World Cup final. But with Messi, I mean, like, they're going to be, booing him like they did in that Bordeaux game, like with Neymar as well. The fans demand more because of how much money has been put into this club. And yeah, Neymar was the big transfer. So was Mbappe. Messi came for free. And yeah, I get his form isn't great, but this man can play multiple positions on the team and dissect a defense if used correctly. And I just think they haven't fit him into this team properly. If he's struggling to do the things he could do so easily in Barcelona, I just think that, yeah, like it's like a lot of people are to blame and need to take accountability for it, but the chemistry is not there. Mbappe wants to leave. And I think this PSG project is sort of just failing now, because if you can't win with those guys, I just think, time to wrap up, guys.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but also it's not also on all of that. Messi also has to take some accountability with that too for a few things. So Ronaldo's playing in Manchester United, which a lot of the time he's been there, it's been in woeful disarray, and there's crazy stuff going on there, and there's so much issues there. And he struggled, like his struggle of form was that, you know, he didn't score for a few games, but then he scored more goals in one game than Messi has in a season.
But
Plus,
I think that they play different positions.
A lot harder. Yeah,
they play
but
different
Premier
positions.
League but it's not just that Messi hasn't scored goals. Messi isn't really doing much. I'm not like trying to diss Messi, but the league is so much different too. And also, you can say the heart's not in it on both Neymar and Messi. Okay, your heart might not be in it or whatever, but that's also then that shows bad character. And what's that showing to everyone too? Okay, you might not want to be there, but you are, and you're getting paid crazy good money to be there. Especially Neymar, he chose to go there, so you need to perform. And Messi, you know, he's gone there from Barcelona, and it was terrible circumstances, but he's happy to take their money, take the praise, take the lifestyle. And you've got a responsibility when you're getting paid the sort of money you are to play football. It's not good enough to be that your heart's not in it and you want to be there and then to not perform. Like, if that's what it is, if he's not putting in the effort and he's not trying, then that's not correct. And if that's how it's going to be, if that's the mindset, and I think a lot of that is there, but if that's the mindset that's going to be there and you're not going to have the heart and you're going to try, but you're not giving it your all and all of this, well, then you should be sitting on the bench and Di Maria should be on the field, because Di Maria wants to be there. And every time Di Maria comes on, he plays. And Kylian Mbappe wants to leave, and he's made that clear. And he wanted to leave in summer, I'm pretty sure. And it didn't happen. It was blocked. And now he's going to probably leave for free. And he probably wants to go to Real Madrid. That's where he wants to be. And you saw him talking with the players after the game. And he looks like I think that's what's going to happen. But he still goes out there and he performs. And yeah, maybe he's trying to attract an offer. He's already going to get an offer. He went out there and he performed, and he was deadly and he was lethal, and he doesn't want to be there. So I think that's sort of, I don't know. Yeah. I just find that interesting. You've got a responsibility.
I think Messi plays such a unique position on the field that it's hard to just like this style they play that he's used to, Messi, not in PSG, but in Argentina and Barcelona, are predicated on everything going through him. And that's sort of the way the style evolved when he's in the team. And now you slot him into a new team where Di Maria is the winger, where it's pacey up the wings. But Messi cuts in. Messi's a midfielder as well. Messi's the striker. He plays all these different positions. So I just think it's hard to use him in this. Like, it shouldn't be hard to use him in this team because of the talent they've got there. Because on the other side, Neymar's doing a similar job. You know, they cut in, they drop back, they go forward. So I don't know. It's interesting. They're going to win Ligue 1, but Nasser Al Khalifi, their owner, is pissed, to say the least. And I would be too, after investing that much money into the club. He threatened to kill someone after that game, part of Real Madrid's staff.
Jeez.
And he's currently facing...
I don't see them getting sanctioned and stuff.
Oh, I don't know. Well, he's currently facing...
They should probably. That's terrible. That's
potential 28-month prison sentence over corruption with FIFA TV as well. But like, I don't know. So if Chelsea get an owner like that, what are you gonna think?
I hope not. I hope not. We just want someone who just loves football and has no bad hidden agendas. And yeah. But I don't know, with the PSG thing, there is obviously accountability on, I don't know, they're just buying whatever's out there and what's good. That's what Barcelona did. It was really bad. You know, like at that, what the parts, if you want to call it, the time that wrecked Barcelona, I don't know.
Yep.
But also, and it's got to be accountability onto, you know, the coaching staff and the style of play. But you still can't say it's because of the coaching staff and that Neymar's playing bad and that Messi's playing bad. They've also got to perform. Messi's playing on a pitch. You know, he's standing there on a pitch. You know, if he's playing on the wing, I'm sure he can still do his stuff from there. And yeah, he might not get the service and that, but he got the service. Like, he likes to come deep and get the ball and take it out. He did. And then Modric chased him down. And he tried things we saw, you know, he'd get the ball and he'd try to step around someone, or he'd get the ball as many times he got the ball just outside the box, or in a good spot, and he had a bit of time on the ball, he'd get it, and he'd almost I'm being honestly here, he'd just run straight into a player. It almost looks like, and the ball would pop out, and Real Madrid would have the ball. Like, I don't know, and that looks. It was sad to watch. It looks like Messi, didn't want to be there, and it looks like he's not happy, and it looks really sad. You can't say that it's the coaching staff as him to get the ball and data someone likes to be able to. And I understand, he's old and he's getting older. Sorry, 34. He's achieved so much in his time, and he's a great player. I'm not trying to take any of that away. It wasn't working, and even that'd be like saying if it was on it's not working, and you've got Di Maria on the bench who has come on time and time again and been playing good. You take Neymar off. I don't care who Neymar is. You take him off. That's what it should be. You shouldn't be on the field because of your name.
But at the same time, I think that's easier said than done.
If Mbappe starts playing bad, you've got a striker.
Because the the media and the fans, they're going to demand they be on the pitch as well. So there's a lot more that goes into it. But in saying that, he still has 10 assists in league and leading it with Mbappe, but still only 2 league goals. But anyway, but as a club, PSG,
divide that by the.
They've won the league.
Divide by the.
They've won the league so many times recently, last few years, but in the Champions League, they still are lacking that elusive trophy. And that team is definitely built for the league, but it's built for the Champions League as well. It's built to win that competition, and they still haven't done it. They got to the final, but we might have to wait a few more years to see them actually lift that trophy. And it kind of sucks because they have spent so much money on that team. But they did have a good transfer window. They did bring in, obviously Messi and Ramos for free, Donnarumma as well. I don't know how, he left for free, obviously, but he was a free agent. So, yeah, I just think this club, it's a hard thing. Like, they dominate their league, but they just struggle when it comes to the big stage in the Champions League.
That's it. And I guess if we want to talk about another team that struggles in the big stages of the Champions League, cough, cough, final against Chelsea, and who has a lot of money injected into the Manchester City. There's interesting developments with them at the moment too. So this morning our time, they had a draw against Crystal Palace, which, just a side note, they actually lost 2-0 to Crystal Palace in their first game that they played them this season. So now, the points dropped there, and they've been dropping some points. We saw them drop points, or almost drop points, against Everton. They've been struggling. The title race is really tightening up. So as we mentioned earlier in another pod, it was looking like Man City was really running away with it, and that, yes, Liverpool would be somewhat close, but Man City was going to be pretty comfortably winning the league this year. It's not quite like that anymore. So currently Manchester City have played 29 games and they're sitting on 70 points. Liverpool have only played 28, so 1 game in hand over Manchester City, and are currently sitting on 66 points. So potentially Liverpool will be 1 point behind Manchester City. Still plenty of games to come, around 10 games to come still for Liverpool, or once they get that game, even it up with the 29. We've got 9 games in hand. 9 games left, sorry. And interesting enough, so it's not only, going to be tight because there's a 1 point in it. Manchester City have been, in bad form of recent, if you want to, in the Premier League, if you want to look at it in the way of, they had such a huge lead over Liverpool, but now have given up that huge lead. So they're dropping form while Liverpool's just hitting form. Liverpool got a 2-0 win this morning. Interesting enough too, so that's going to put pressure on them. So they're under pressure now, Man City. There's also pressure coming in from behind that. So Chelsea on 28 games, 1 game in hand over City on 59 points, so potentially only 8 points away. Now, whilst that's too far away for striking for the league win, I think that's going to be pressure on City. And then Arsenal sneaking up, only on 26 games, so 3 games in hand over City, and currently on 51. So potentially If they get wins on the 3 games that they've got in hand, they'll put them on 60 points, which is only 10 points behind City. So also applying pressure. It's heating up, Steve. What are your thoughts on this? Man City, are they gonna fold, or is Liverpool gonna get the win?
I don't know. It just feeds more into the rivalry of Guardiola and Klopp. I'm not too sure, because Liverpool are coming back strong, just winning games constantly. Man City did lose that game, but right now it's only, what is it, 4 points? 4 points that.
4 points, but potentially only 1.
Yeah, the game in hand. I can see Manchester City seeing this out, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not a fanboy, but yeah. Just looking down the table, poor Everton. Oh my God. Do you have any thoughts on Everton?
I feel sorry for my fellow Chelsea supporter, Frank Lampard. I put that as if we're on the same level. He's a club legend. I'm just a fan. I feel sorry for him that he's got a hard job he's being tasked with. I heard a real loose rumor that potentially they're going to be deducted some points too. So that would definitely put them in the relegation zone. Yeah, the only thing for them, if you want to look, it's so hard this year to get a good judge on the table from first looking at it, just because there's all the difference in games played. They're currently sitting in 17th on 22 points. Watford, who's in 18 and in the relegation zone, also on 22. So just the goal difference coming there. But in last place, Norwich on 29 games played with 17 points. So that's a bit of a difference. And we've got to keep in mind, so Everton's only played 26 games. Watford, who's in the 18th, and Norwich in 20th, both played 29, so 3 games more. Burnley in 19th have played 27, so only the 1 extra game. But that could be a good thing for Everton. If Everton can find some form, if Frank can get in there, get the team, working well, maybe the injection of Del Ali, give him some time to get some form. They're in a good-ish spot, I guess, with those 3 games in hand. Potentially, if they can win those 3 games in hand, that's an extra 9 points. They'll put them on 31 points, which will put them, up around where Newcastle's sitting, sort of thing now, which is sort of around that 14th, 13th spot. And we're sort of looking at Newcastle now, they're sort of safe in the form they're showing, because they've sort of been playing quite well. So yeah, Everton can turn this around. I don't know if they will, but they can.
Yeah, for sure. I think they still have not great. I think they have some pretty good players. Dele Alli coming into the squad. Richarlison, it's off and on with him. I don't like when he plays for Brazil. I think there are better players for that squad, but it is what it is. I think we should probably move on to La Liga. And this title race has been heating up in the last few weeks with that top 5 of Real Madrid, who've won the league already. Let's just say that. And then you got Sevilla, Betis, Barca, and Atleti. So match day 26 was a real test, because it was Sevilla versus Real Betis, the derby of Sevilla, and they were in 2nd and 3rd, and that had huge implications on the race. And Sevilla came away with the 2-1 victory, and Barca beating Athletic Club 4-0. So it was great to see that game. And you do have to respect Athletic Bilbao, because they play only players from the region of the Basque region, and they're getting from such a small pool. But I don't know how they do it every season and stay up in La Liga. I think they're one of 3 teams, including Barca and Real, who've never been relegated to Segunda. So that's very impressive that they've got that. And then the next week was another one, which had huge implications. Atleti versus Betis. Atleti winning 3-1, Barca winning 2-1, Sevilla 0-0 draw. And then the next week after that, which was the last round, Atleti 2-1 over Cadiz, and Barca beating Osasuna 4-0. So the table now looks like Real Madrid, 66 points, Sevilla, 56, Barcelona closing that gap with 51 points and a game in hand. And in fourth place, Atleti with 51 as well. And then Betis in that fifth spot. So, yeah, it's just crazy how Xavi's just come in and made this team perform, bringing in the right players for that system. And they've been on a winning streak. It's been very impressive to watch. And Real Sociedad sitting in sixth in that Conference League spot. So, Dan, have you been watching any La Liga?
I haven't followed this latest sort of round of it, but I have been, like I said in one of the previous ones, I've been quite interested in Barcelona and their sort of rise back to form. I think Aubameyang is such a good signing, and he's been amazing for them. Probably one of the greatest signings of that transfer window in Europe. But yeah, like I said, I'm a Real Madrid supporter. I follow them a little bit, like loosely follow them. I think they're clearly going to run away with the title here. They've got 66 points. No one else is in the 60s at all here yet. And I know you're a Barca fan. I think Barca will make a good surge. Barca potentially going to be able to take that second spot. They've got a game in hand over Sevilla, which will put them on, potentially on 54 points, only 2 behind them. So, the race to secure top 4 could be interesting. Atleti, they're just in there at the moment, but there's teams sort of knocking on their door. I hope that they can hold up there. I'd like to see the sort of those 4 big clubs from Spain retain the Champions League spots. But I think it's clear to me Real Madrid is going to run away with this one.
Yeah, for sure. And now for Serie A. Right now it's AC Milan with 63 points, Napoli 60, Inter 59, and Juve 56. Juve are on a good run of form, and I don't want to see them do it, but I could see them coming and winning the league like they have over the last 10 years. So everyone in Italy does not want to see Juve win, but I don't have too much confidence in Milan, or AC Milan to win. What are your thoughts on Serie A?
Yeah, like I'd love AC Milan, to win. I'm a fan of them. And yeah, I know like the hate that sort of Juventus can cop a little bit, but then like that's what comes with being good, I guess. You sort of win all those years, you're going to cop it a bit. But looking at the table, it's still quite interesting. I like the 2 Milans being at the top, and I'd like if they could sort of those two sort of run away together and like sort of get into a spot where it's a battle between them. I think that would be quite interesting. And I say, sorry, the 2 Milans at the top, technically Inter is sitting in third, but they've got the game in hand. And they're only 1 point behind Napoli at the moment. So theoretically, the 2 Milans could be sitting 63, 62 points. That's insane. But it's good to see that it's so competitive. The top 4, I think, has sort of broken away from the rest now. If you look at there, so Juventus sitting on 56 points and Lazio on 49. So that's a sort of clear breakaway. But it'll just be interesting between them to see who can what can happen there. I think, to be honest, AC Milan has been in good form. Olivier Giroud has been amazing for them. I know we just talked about him earlier, but yeah, I think they might. I'm going to put my bet on them.
Zlatan is the king of that squad, I think.
He doesn't do much anymore.
Well, I think it's time for us to wrap up. So thank you for listening to the 3rd episode of the Beyond the Goal podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Catches.